I'm standing in the middle of my living room, soaked from head to toe, staring at what looks like a tsunami of tea slowly seeping into my carpet. Somewhere beneath the dark, murky puddle, I'm pretty sure a small civilization of sugar cubes is forming a resistance. And me? I'm the disaster captain of this caffeine-fueled apocalypse. So, how did I go from wanting a simple, peaceful cup of tea to inadvertently turning my apartment into a British-themed water park? Well, buckle up, because this is a saga of ambition, hubris, and the underestimation of an innocent teapot. It all began with a completely reasonable intention. I wanted to impress myself. You know those fancy Instagram videos where someone pours tea from a teapot into a delicate china cup and everything looks like it belongs in a Downton Abbey episode? I thought, hey, why not elevate my tea game? Little did I know I was signing up for an epic battle with gravity, physics, and my own spectacular clumsiness. I filled the kettle, thinking about the zen calm I'd achieve once I cradled that perfect cup. But of course, that calm was a mirage. The kettle whistled like a train to nowhere, and in my excitement, I grabbed the teapot, one of those glass ones that look fragile enough to shatter if you breathe on it wrong. I poured hot water over the leaves, admiring the amber as if I just unlocked the secrets of the universe. Then came the fateful moment. Pouring the tea. Simple, right? Except I somehow managed to misjudge the angle so badly that half the steaming liquid missed the cup entirely and cascaded down the side of the teapot like a miniature waterfall. Before I could even react, the teapot slipped from my hands, doing an elegant pirouette through the air before crashing onto the floor and shattering into 1,000 tiny pieces. Cue the slow motion sequence in my head. Shards of glass, liquid everywhere, and me standing there, mouth open like a stunned goldfish. But the disaster was just beginning. I grabbed the kettle to refill the pot, only to trip over the teapot debris. Arms flailing, I knocked over my bedside table, sending books, a lamp, and my phone into the spreading pool of tea. It was like watching dominoes, except the dominoes were expensive electronics and sentimental novels. The tea was flowing, my sanity was leaking, and somewhere inside me a voice whispered, "Maybe just stick to coffee." So there I was, knee-deep in what can only be described as a caffeinated flood zone, desperately trying to mop up the tea with a towel that was already soaking wet, like trying to bail out the Titanic with a thimble. Meanwhile, the tea was spreading, sneaking into every crack and crevice like a stealthy invader with a penchant for Earl Grey. In a panic, I grabbed every container in sight to catch the runaway tea, mixing mugs, plastic bowls, even a suspicious Tupperware from the back of my fridge that I'm pretty sure was last used during the last ice age. None of it helped. The tea had ambitions beyond containment. It was slowly invading my entire apartment like some botanical version of a horror movie. At one point, I slipped on the wet floor and performed an accidental interpretive dance that involved a graceful flail, a desperate grab for the nearest object, which happened to be my cat, and an unintended but deeply embarrassing tea-soaked somersault. The cat, unimpressed, gave me a look that said, "Really? This is what I signed up for?" As the flood continued, I began to notice the smell. This rich, comforting aroma of tea that now mingled awkwardly with the dampness of a potential mold outbreak. It was like my apartment was trying to be cozy and a swamp at the same time, which honestly might be the new frontier of interior design. That's when the existential questions started creeping in. Why did I think making tea was a peaceful ritual? Why did I believe that I could master the art of pouring without turning it into a disaster movie? And more broadly, why do we humans always expect simple pleasures to be straightforward when the universe clearly prefers chaos?
It's like life keeps handing us these tiny teapots of hope, only for us to spill them all over the place and then scramble to clean up the mess while wondering how we got here. Maybe flooding your apartment with tea is just a metaphor for trying too hard to control things that are meant to flow naturally. But then, of course, just as I was starting to make peace with my soggy fate, disaster peaked. The tea reached my laptop. Yes, the very machine that powers my work, my YouTube videos, and my procrastination. The second it touched the keyboard, the screen flickered ominously as if my laptop was gasping for air, or maybe for a cup of coffee to survive this caffeinated siege. I scrambled to unplug it, but in the chaos, I knocked over a candle which thankfully didn't start a fire, but did cause a dramatic plume of smoke that set off my smoke alarm. The piercing sound was the final soundtrack to my tea disaster symphony. So there I was, drenched, defeated, surrounded by ruined electronics, soggy books, and the lingering smell of tea. My once peaceful ritual transformed into an absurd saga of destruction. But here's the thing. I'm still here, still sipping tea from a mug, carefully now, and oddly grateful. Because sometimes the messes we make teach us more than the perfectly poured cup ever could. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.